Hello and welcome. You are watching Nonsense Talk News and I am Pallab Ghosh with you. We have lost an iconic admin. Yes, I am talking about Piyush Pandey. Piyush Pandey, as I say, was the person who compelled India to sing ads. He was the person who changed the grammar of the advertising industry. Each ads that he made are iconic and chartbusters. Now, if I take Piyush Pandey, many may not identify with his name. Well, that's natural because people outside the entertainment industry or the ad industry, or those who are not so familiar with advertisements, theoretically, may not identify with the name. But if I take his works, if I take an example of his works, the advertisements, then I bet there will be hardly few who will say that they haven't heard or seen these ads. Well, let me jog your memory a bit. He did endless ads, advertisements. 40 years into advertisement career. Not a matter of joke. 4 decades of ads. In fact, as I said, each and every ad depicted his creativity and his concept, because his storyboards are so unique and so very real, and they identify with life. In fact, Piyush Pandey's basic contribution to advertisement was he wanted to change the cult advertisements and infuse the colloquial Hindi in the ads, because he believed that if this colloquial language X factor is infused in advertisements, then they become more acceptable, because people in this country speak Hindi, and he wanted to hit the people in the Hindi belt. So all his ads were simply unique. And another thing, before taking the examples of some of the ads, Piyush Pandey's style was to infuse a laughter factor in his ads so that people smile when they hear the advertisements. And you can check yourself. Most of his ads, most of his works are certainly unique, iconic, and the X factor of they carry a smile when you hear them. Sometime or the other, you must have smiled, you must have felt very relaxed hearing these ads, and this was his USP, if I may say so. Well, now let me jog your memory a bit. And as I said, many of you may not be knowing his name, but there are hardly few people who will say that we haven't heard or seen these ads. I'm sure you all have memory of Vicks advertisement. Vicks ki goli lo, khich khich dur karo. I mean, this ad was very simple, but it had a huge impact on the consumers. And once again, he used the word kitch kitch. And that's very natural. When we have throat irritation, that's exactly what we have. So this was his USP. He wanted to relate to the daily life, daily structure of our day-to-day life. Well, another ad. The romantic number of Cadbury's. Kuch khas hai. Again, this ad was different in many ways because in Piyush Pandey's own words, in one of his interviews, he said that usually people regard chocolates as children candy. I mean, youngsters, children love chocolates. But here, his ad wanted to show that even adults love chocolates. And so he used the storyboard that this girl, Shimona, was watching his boyfriend, or she had some kind of infatuation for this young person who was playing cricket. And then suddenly she bursts into smile, and the entire ad changes, showing life. This ad was very specially made, and this entire ad was shot at the iconic Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai, the historical stadium. Well, there are many, but as I said, some of them simply became chartbusters on screen and on audio. Another was the Asian Paints, Luna Mopeds, so on and so forth. But Piyush Pandey also created two very unique and iconic campaigns. One was for the National Polio Mission, Do Boond Zindagi Ke. Remember? Amitabh Bachchan was on the screen requesting people to go and get the polio dose. Now this ad was very special for Piyush Pandey, as he said in one of the interview that this ad is his best works if asked. And another, many of you I am sure have heard this. Ab ki baar Modi Sarkar, the iconic catchline of the Bharatiya Janata Party in 2014 ahead of elections. The election that actually brought Prime Minister Narendra Modi in power. In fact, as I said, Piyush Pandey's storyboards were so very unique, so very lively, that they were simply catchy and attractive. And what a career he had. 4 decades in advertisement. He joined Ogilvy Mather in 1982, and then on, it was Ogilvy. In fact, Piyush Pandey gave his entire life, his best, to Ogilvy. And Ogilvy too reciprocated by putting up a very touching tribute as an obituary after his death in today's newspaper. Well, such personalities, when you start talking about such personalities, there are so many things to say, so many things to discuss, so many things to share, so full of life. And I know I am missing out on many things which I have penned down in my uh, tribute, my story to the iconic admin of this country. And as I say, I reiterate, the man who compelled India to sing ads, the man who changed the grammar of the advertising industry. Piyush Pandey has left behind the legacy of advertisement. Now it's for youngsters to understand, to create, and to carry on his legacy forward. But here I would like to mention a line from Kabhi Kabhi, the film, sung by Mukesh. कल और आएंगे नगमों की खिलती कलियां चुनने वाले, तुमसे बेहतर सुनने वाले, मुझसे बेहतर कहने वाले. Apt lines. Because India doesn't have dearth of talents in the creative industry. There will be many more to come. There will be many who will create history. But Piyush Pandey will be remembered for transforming the cult advertisement to this interesting style of advertisement where we enjoy singing the jingles because we cannot help but humming his storyboards. This was Piyush Pandey. Well, a life full of excitement, flamboyance, and creativity. May his soul rest in peace. This is Pallab Ghosh signing off for Non-Stop News.